With the decision to let teachers decide whether or not to require masks, Tatum says the coronavirus task force felt comfortable with a more flexible mask requirement as COVID case count numbers continue to trend down on campus. The Biden-Harris administration has provided Ukrainians with weapon systems like the Javelin anti-tank missiles in their defense against the Russian invasion. The Lockheed Martin facility here in Troy has produced more than 50,000 of these missiles in the last 20 years. As COVID cases continue to rise, the university administration hopes that requiring masks will help reduce the number of positive cases. As of right now, when entering a building, it's time to mask up. The Remnant Trust features an array of artifacts, including a second folio edition of William Shakespeare's The Famous Life of King Henry VIII. The second folio was published in 1632 and will reside here in the library until the end of the fall semester. With things returning to a sense of normalcy on campus, the dining hall decided to keep one feature from the COVID-restricted semesters. The new to-go option is eco-friendly, and it's as easy as grab, close, and take it to go. And if you're ever in your car and tune in to Troy Public Radio from time to time, you may just hear Connor's voice through the speakers.
I'm Connor Howell with your Troy Public Radio weather forecast.
President Joe Biden visited the Lockheed Martin facility in Troy in support of their efforts in providing Ukraine with Javelin missiles. President Biden began with a tour of the facility, seeing the Javelin missiles and their production. He then made an address honoring workers of the facility who have helped the U.S. provide weapon defense to Ukraine.
But what we don't always see, is the work that makes so much of this possible. And that's you. It's not hyperbole, it's you. You make it possible. You make it possible for them to have a shot.
The Biden-Harris administration has provided Ukrainians with weapon systems like the Javelin anti-tank missiles in their defense against the Russian invasion. The Lockheed Martin facility here in Troy has produced more than 50,000 of these missiles in the last 20 years.
You know, some of the best, most effective weapons in our arsenal are those Javelin missiles, like the ones manufactured right here in Pike County. They're highly portable. They're extremely effective against a wide range of armored targets. They can hit targets up to 400 meters away and have a fire and forget capability. That means a person firing can, I know you know it, but it's for anybody who maybe listen, can change positions or take cover before that javelin even strikes home and strikes the target.
Since Russia invaded Ukraine over 2 months ago, the U.S. has provided Ukraine with $3 billion in security systems in their fight to defend their country. President Biden presented to Congress last week a supplemental funding bill requesting more money to fund the production of weapons sent to Ukraine, which he is urging Congress to quickly pass.
Last week, I sent Congress, if you excuse the point of personal privilege, talking like an old senator, but sent a supplemental budget, a fancy way of saying we need more money, to make sure the United States can continue to send weapons directly to the front lines of freedom in Ukraine, and to continue to provide economic and humanitarian assistance to help the Ukrainian people. And I urge the Congress to pass this funding quickly to help Ukraine continue to succeed against Russian aggression, just as they did when they won the Battle of Kyiv. And to make sure the United States and our allies can replenish our own stocks of weapons to replace what we've sent to Ukraine.
Connor Howell is a Troy University student. Connor Howell is a broadcast journalism major. And Connor Howell is blind.
Unfortunately, I was born with a visual impairment. My eyes had too much oxygen at birth, so it allowed me to be blind, unfortunately. However, this has presented a lot of challenges, but I've fortunately had a supportive family who has pushed me and allowed me to not give up. Although there's been, like I said, a few hardships, I've tried to make the best out of myself as what I can.
Even though he lives with a disability, Connor uses technology to his advantage to function as your everyday college student. Using an iPhone with built-in software for the blind or visually impaired, he is able to navigate all things a smartphone has to offer.
It reads to me everything that's on the screen. It speaks it to me, so I can still navigate the navigate the phones. I can use apps and use social media and messaging and things like that. So I'm still able to stay in communication with people because, you know, technology is a must these days.
In his free time, Connor volunteers at Troy Public Radio. Using a Bluetooth Braille machine that links to his phone, he can read the news and deliver the weather forecast to its listeners. And if you're ever in your car and tune in to Troy Public Radio from time to time, you may just hear Connor's voice through the speakers.
I'm Connor Howell with your Troy Public Radio weather forecast.
I've always liked listening to the radio. I grew up listening to the radio every morning. You know, that was just kind of like my thing. That's what I did. Like most people, they watch TV. My thing was radio. You know, I couldn't see the TV.
Connor has never let his disability get in the way of his dreams, and he hopes to be an inspiration to others with his story.
Well, if you have a dream, if there's something you really want, you have a desire to do, I say never give up and go for it. Although there is going to be challenges that you may face along the way, it's about how you cope with those challenges that's really going to make a difference.
Connor is an everyday reminder to not let your circumstances prevent you from pursuing your passions. A financial milestone was hit for this year's Chancellor's 22nd annual golf tournament. $1 million has been raised throughout the tournament's history. Chancellor Jack Hawkins Jr. says the goal was set years ago, but the purpose has always been the same.
It's on this occasion that we celebrate the achievement of $1 million goal being accomplished. We set that goal a number of years ago, and we dedicated the money to support our ministry for student athletes.
The Student Ministries Fund supports faith-based programs for students and student athletes. The fund is named after John W. Schmidt, the longtime senior vice chancellor. Schmidt says he hopes this fund will continue to grow his service to others at Troy University.
It's a wonderful university to serve students. I know I've served there for 22 years. And just like my service in the military, in the Marine Corps, it's serving troops, it's serving others, it's going beyond yourself. And so I think this will make the difference in terms of another element of service, a service to not only our students, but our student athletes.
The namesake of the student ministry had a very simple response to the financial impact of the Chancellor's annual golf tournament.
I'd use a simple word, humble. I'm humbled by being part of it. I mean, I'm just a small part of it. The fact is that Dr. Hawkins was gracious enough to name this in my honor is quite a, I've never experienced anything like this, so it's a very humbling experience for me, but rewarding. The fact is that God is indeed good, and today is a good example of that.
The tournament hit another milestone this year as well, setting its record number of participants. 155 golfers were registered in the Chancellor's Tournament at the Robert Trent Jones Golf Course in Prattville. Chancellor Hawkins says by hitting the $1 million mark, he hopes to continue to see the event grow to pursue student ministries on campus.
This accomplishment today allows us to expect this fund to last forever. We won't spend the corpus, we will continue to grow the corpus, but the funds that will be coming as a result of the interest on the $1 million will allow us to sustain that ministry.
1, 2, 3.
A groundbreaking moment for the city of Troy as they break ground on the new Clyde Mays Distillery. The event held at the location of the upcoming distillery featured speakers from Clyde Mays family and Governor Kay Ivey, who says this distillery will be a destination spot for the state of Alabama.
Well, this groundbreaking ceremony for Clyde Mays Fine Whiskey has now been recognized as the official state spirit of Alabama. We have as many of the Clyde Mays family here is extra special, so it's a great day for Troy. It's going to be a tourist destination for people to come and tour and maybe have a sip.
Clyde Mays Company was born in Troy, Alabama, originally starting as a moonshiner in 1946. The whiskey was named the official state spirit in 2004 after the state legislature voiced that they felt Clyde May embodied a true Alabama citizen. L.C. May, grandson of Clyde May, says he is honored to bring this company back home to Troy.
It's hard for me to put into words how much this means, obviously for the city and for the state, but for our family. You know, my grandfather worked so hard his entire life to make something special, and he had to do it in a way where he couldn't brag about it or talk about it as a moonshiner. But we are just so honored that we're able to come home right here in his backyard to build this state-of-the-art distillery.
Clyde Maize is the official state spirit of Alabama, and the distillery is expected to be a tourism destination for the state. Governor Ivey says this groundbreaking ceremony is just the beginning of bringing new people from all over into the city of Troy.
Well, it's going to employ some more people here, that's for sure, and also it's going to be a tourist destination. A lot of people from in-state and around the country are going to come to see this facility, and that's a good thing for Troy.
Phase 1 of construction is the actual distillery, where the whiskey will be aged in barrels and bottled. Phase 2 and 3 will follow soon after, which will begin the construction of the tourism side of the distillery. Claudia Peppenhorst, Troy, Trojan Vision News.